Hey guys, and welcome back to another challenge video. In our last video we tried to beat Pokemon Silver with just a Poliwag. If you guys didn't get a chance to see that one, go check it out after this video. It was a super fun challenge. Now in today's video, if you guys are unable to read the title, we are going to try and beat Pokemon Platinum with just a Magby. Now if we take a brief look at Magby's stats, they're not actually that bad. He has pretty good attack, pretty good special attack, and pretty good speed. The rest of his stats aren't that great, but they're not too bad. When it comes to Magby, his problem isn't his stats, it's his moves. Now when it comes to Magby's moves learned by level up, they're not actually that bad. He learns Flamethrower and Fire Blast, which are really good fire type moves, but his coverage for his weaknesses like Water, Ground, and Rock are absolutely atrocious. He only has Faint Attack and Smog, which are the only moves he learns that aren't fire type, and they're not good against his weaknesses at all. Now without further ado, it's time for us to get into the rules. Rule number 1, I can only use Magby to do damage in battle. Rule number 2, no TMs or HMs will be allowed to be used during the run. Rule number 3, no items will be allowed in battle except held items. Rule number 4, no glitches or exploits will be allowed during the challenge. Rule number 5, Magby is not allowed to evolve at any point during the challenge. Now with that out of the way, it's time for us to get into the run. Now if you guys are looking forward to seeing me beat this challenge, make sure you smash that subscribe button and let's get into it. Now we start off the challenge like we always do by naming my character, and I always name him Dead because you guys all know that I'm dead inside. Now as for my rival's name, I was feeling really uncreative today, so I decided to name him Joe Mama for literally no reason besides that. There will definitely not be a pun later on involving that name. And now with that out of the way, it's time for us to choose our starter. Now if it wasn't obvious from the title or the intro, we'll be choosing Magby as our starter. Now just to drive me a little bit more insane, I did replace Chimchar with Magby, so my rival would choose Piplup to make it a little bit harder because I love to torture myself. Now anyway, with our starters chosen, it's time for our first battle with our rival, Joe Mama. Now if you're wondering, this battle doesn't go as well as you'd think because we only have Smog at this point, and Smog has really low accuracy, which means we miss a lot. Now this battle against Piplup is actually really slow just because Smog misses a lot, and for some reason he's trying to lower my attack, which makes no sense considering that Smog is special, whatever. But eventually I end up poisoning Piplup, and at that point the battle is pretty easy. I take out Piplup with a few more Smogs, winning the battle and defeating Joe Mama. Now that we have defeated Joe Mama, it's time for us to look at our Magby. Now Magby has a docile nature, which is a neutral nature, meaning that no stats are decreased or increased by its nature. It also has the ability Flame Body, which means if it's hit by a physical move, it has a small chance to burn the opponent. And now that we've gotten to know our Magby a little bit better, it's time to put it to a test against its strongest opponent, youngster Tristan. Now to start off the battle, his style uses Quick Attack, doing about 10 damage to me even though I out-level it by 7 levels, and then I hit it with an Ember, taking it out in one shot and defeating the hardest rival in this entire game, youngster Tristan. Shortly after defeating youngster Tristan, we arrive in Jubilife City. Now the only thing that happens in Jubilife City of note is that we receive a free watch from a creepy old man in the middle of town. Now this is definitely not dangerous because strangers aren't dangerous, especially if you're 11 years old. Anyway, shortly after leaving Jubilife City, it's time for us to battle our rival again. This time around my rival starts off with level 7 Starly, which I take out with 1 Ember. Next up my rival sends out Piplup, which I accidentally used Ember on, which luckily burns it for some reason. Don't you just hate it when you burn water? Now the rest of the battle against Piplup is so easy because he just continues to use Growl to lower my attack, even though both my attacks are special attacks, which is completely hilarious. I eventually take him out with a combo of Burn and Smog, defeating Piplup and beating Joe Mama again. Shortly after defeating our rival, we arrive in Allberg City. Anyway, shortly after arriving in Allberg City, it's time for us to battle the first gym leader, Rourke. Now to be honest with you, at this point I was pretty scared of this gym because it's a rock gym and I'm a fire type, and I didn't think I'd win my first attempt. Now to start off the battle, Rourke sends out his Geodude, which I use Ember on, which does just over half damage. Now his Geodude uses Rock Throw, which does a surprising amount of damage to me, almost half my health. And then I take it out with another Ember. Now that Geodude has been defeated, next up is Onix. Now to start the battle against Onix, we use Smoke Screen to lower its accuracy. This actually works quite effectively because he misses his next Rock Tomb. Now I hit his Onix with Ember, which actually does surprisingly more damage than I thought it would, about a third of his health. Unfortunately for me, his next Rock Tomb actually hits and leaves me on 15 health. To make matters worse, his next Rock Tomb also hits, leaving me on 1 health. And then Rourke decides to use a potion, fully healing his Onix. Because he decided to use a potion, it means I get 2 free attacks, using Ember both times and doing about 2/3 of his health. Now after hitting Ember the second time, he decides to use Rock Tomb again, but it actually misses, meaning I get another attack, taking Onix out with Ember, meaning it's time for Craniados. Last but not least, Rourke sends out his Craniados. I use Ember, which does very little damage, and then he takes me out with Pursuit because I'm only on 1 health. At level 25 I decided to do this battle again, but even that's barely enough. I do manage to take it out though with a few Smogs and a lucky Poison, and 1 Faint Attack. But with that we have defeated leader Rourke and claimed ourselves the first gym badge. After defeating gym leader Rourke, we head back to Jubilife City and we have our first battle with Team Galactic. Now is it just me, but when I look at a Team Galactic run, all I see is Team Rocket, but a really weird sci-fi nerd version. But I digress. I take out Glameow in 1 shot with Ember. Now Stunky does end up poisoning Turtwig, but I end up taking Stunky out 1 Ember, winning the battle and defeating Team Galactic for the first time. Shortly after defeating Team Galactic, we arrive in Floroma Town. Now there isn't really much to do in Floroma Town except for battle Commander Mars at the Valley Windworks. Now to start off the battle, Mars sends out her Zubat. I hit it with Ember, taking it down to like a 1 health, and then it uses the Toxic, poisoning me. It of course only takes 1 more Ember to take out her Zubat. Next up, Commander Mars sends out her Perugly. With the combination of being badly poisoned and my Ember not doing enough damage, eventually her Perugly takes me out, meaning I have to try this battle again. Anyway, after grinding up 3 more levels, I decided to do this battle again at level 28. Now that I'm level 28, I managed to one-shot Zubat, meaning that it doesn't get its Toxic off, meaning I get to Perugly this time without being badly poisoned. Also, while grinding, Magby learned Fire Punches is really good because I managed to get a burn off on the first try. Now after a few Fire Punches, I managed to knock Perugly down to 1 health, and then it gets taken out by its burn, meaning I've won the battle and defeated Commander Mars. Shortly after defeating Commander Mars, we travel through Eterna Forest with a girl named Cheryl. And then we finally arrive in Eterna City, home of the second gym. Speaking of the second gym, it's time for us to battle Gardenia, the user of Grass-type Pokemon. To start off the battle, Gardenia sends out her Turtwig. Now I decide to use Fire Punch on Turtwig, taking it out in 1 shot. Next up, Gardenia decides to send out her Cherum. Now once again against Cherum, I decide to use Fire Punch and unsurprisingly take it out in 1 shot. Last but not least, Gardenia sends out her Roserade. Now I personally think Roserade is one of the coolest looking Grass-type Pokemon in the entire game, but I still take it out in 1 Fire Punch. And with that 1 Fire Punch, we have defeated Gardenia and the second gym and claiming ourselves a second gym badge. Anyway, after defeating Gardenia, it's time for us to confront Team Galactic again and battle Commander Jupiter. Why are all these dumbasses named after planets? Anyway, she starts the battle by sending out Zubat, and I take out Zubat in 1 Fire Punch. Next up, Jupiter sends out Skuntank, and I hit it with a Fire Punch, doing about 1/3 of its health. Unfortunately for me though, Skuntank uses poison gas and it poisons me. Anyway, my next Fire Punch knocks Skuntank down to 1 health. Unfortunately, Skuntank heals with an Orange Berry, and then it hits me with a Night Slash, doing a significant amount of damage, but then I take it out with the next Fire Punch, beating Commander Jupiter. Anyway, after defeating Commander Jupiter, it's time for us to head to Hearthrome City. Anyway, shortly after arriving in Hearthrome City, it's time for us to battle the 3rd gym leader, Fantina. To start off the battle, Fantina uses Duskull, and Duskull uses Shadow Sneak. Now Shadow Sneak really doesn't work out for Duskull because it results in it getting a burn. The burn doesn't really matter though, because I take out Duskull in 1 Fan Attack. Next up, Fantina sends out her Miss Magius. To start off the battle, I use Fan Attack, which does about 2/3 damage to Miss Magius. Unfortunately, Miss Magius does hit a little bit with a Citrus Berry. Miss Magius does do Shadow Ball on me, which does barely any damage, and I take it out with another Fan Attack. Last but not least, Fantina sends out her Haunter, which goes down to 1 Fan Attack because it's a pushover. And with that, we have defeated Fantina and claimed ourselves a 3rd gym badge. Anyway, after defeating Fantina, it's time for another rival fight. To start off the battle, our rival sends out Staravia. Unfortunately, Staravia has the ability Intimidate, which lowers my attack stat. Now that my attack stat has been lowered, Fire Punch does not one-shot Staravia. To make matters worse, Staravia uses Double Team to make it harder to hit. Fortunately for me though, my next Fire Punch still hits, taking out Staravia. Next up, our rival sends out Prinplup, and this is a battle I didn't think I'd be able to win at this level. Now I tried to be really tricky here and use Confuse Ray so it wouldn't be able to hit me, but it still hit me, taking me out in 1 shot with Bubble Beam. Meaning it's time for round 2. Next time around I decided to grind at level 40, this time around I get up to Prinplup with a pretty decent amount of health. I decide to use Confuse Ray again, hoping this time around I get lucky. I don't get lucky and still hits him Bubble Beam, but this time it doesn't take me out in 1 shot. Now against Prinplup I meant to use Fan Attack, but I accidentally click on Flamethrower, but then it does a surprising amount of damage. Over half.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
I guess I just got lucky. Confuse Ray does come in handy on the next turn though, because it gets confused and I take it out with another Flamethrower. Next up, my rival sends out Planetar, which goes down to 2 Fan Attacks. Last but not least, our rival sends out Roselia. Now Roselia goes down to 1 Flamethrower, meaning we've beaten our rival once again. Anyway, after defeating our rival, we are beaten by a bunch of Psyduck which we cannot get past, because clearly there's no way around these Psyduck. Anyway, on the way to the next town, our egg that we got from Cynthia hatches. Just in case you guys are going to ask in the comments, Togepi came out of the egg. Pretty interesting. Anyway, now that mystery solved, it's time for us to arrive in Veilstone City. Anyway, in Veilstone City, it's time for us to challenge the next gym leader, Maylene. Now to start off the battle, Maylene sends out her Meditite. Now Meditite starts off with Fake Out, which does a surprising amount of damage considering. Unfortunately for Meditite though, it gets burned by my Flame Body, and then it gets taken out in 1 shot from Fire Punch. Next up is Machoke. Now I start the battle off with Machoke by using Fire Punch, which does just over half damage. Machoke decides to use Rock Tomb, which is super effective and brings me down to exactly 4 health. And to make matters worse, it also lowers my speed. Anyway, after all that, I still managed to outspeed Machoke and take it out with another Fire Punch. Last but not least, Maylene sends out her Lucario. Now I should have been able to take out Lucario pretty easily because I have Fire type moves and its part Steel type, but unfortunately because my speed got dropped by Rock Tomb, it takes me out with Drain Punch, meaning I have to try this battle again. This time around I get to Lucario again on the exact same amount of health, but this time my speed isn't dropped. And because my speed isn't dropped, I get to go first using Flamethrower, which is super effective against Lucario, taking it out in one shot and defeating Maylene. And with that we claim ourselves another gym badge. After defeating Maylene we have to head to Festoria City. But before we can face the gym in the city we have to battle our rival. Now to save time in this video I'm going to tell you the only hard part of this fight is beating Prinplup. I had to grind all the way up to level 50 to even stand a chance against it. Anyway, at level 50, with the power of Confusion and Flamethrower, he managed to beat Prinplup. Anyway, after finally defeating Prinplup, he brings out Ponyta. Ponyta is no hassle, I take it out in 2 fire punches, it only hits me with 1 stomp, doing a little bit of damage. Last but not least, Mama sends out Roselia. Now Roselia goes down in 1 fire punch because fire punch is super effective. And with that we have defeated our rival. Now that was a difficult fight, but not as difficult as the battle we're about to have. Yes, that's right, you probably know what's going to happen now. We have to battle Gym Leader Wake. But we're not going to do that yet because I have to say something real quick. Now I know I can make this battle easier on myself by like grinding to a ridiculous level, but I don't really want to do that this early in the run. So there is another option, and I'm going to choose that option over grinding a lot. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what do you mean by second option? Now there's a really old saying, it says the first you don't succeed, dig a really big hole in the ground and look for old shards. Now I don't remember who said this saying, but it really applies in this situation. Now this little shard hunt took me about 7 hours, scattered over like 3 days, to find all the shards I needed to do what I'm about to do. Now you're probably wondering, what do you need these shards for? Let me show you. Now if you go just outside of Festoria City to a little hut, there'll be a move tutor who will teach you Pokemon Thunder Punch with just the right amount of shards. Now you're probably typing in the comment section below that this is against the rules, but actually it's not. I said no T on my HMs, I said nothing about move tutors. This is perfectly legal and within the confines of the rules. Now I made an executive decision and decided to get rid of Fire Punch for Thunder Punch. Now before we battle Wake again, I just want to remind you guys, if you guys are enjoying the video up to this point, please leave a like on it. If you're not enjoying the video, leave a dislike on it and go in the comment section below and let me know what I can improve on, because I'm always trying to improve. Anyway, with that out of the way, it's finally time for us to battle Gym Leader Wake. To start off the battle, he sends out Gyarados. I hit it with a Thunder Punch and it takes it out in 1 shot because it's 4 times super effective. Next up is the only Pokemon that he has that really gives me any issue, Quagsire, because it's part ground type and I can't use Thunder Punch. Instead I use Flamethrower, which does a surprising amount of damage to Quagsire. And it only took 1 more Flamethrower to take him out completely. Next up he sends out Floatzel, which uses Aqua Jet, which is priority, meaning it goes first. It does a decent chunk of damage, but I managed to take it out in 1 shot with Thunder Punch anyway. And with Floatzel taken out, we have finally defeated Gym Leader Wake. After defeating Wake, we finally receive the secret potion from Cynthia, and we can get past the Psyduck. Shortly after getting past the Psyducks, we arrive in Celestic Town. Now that we have finally reached Celestic Town, we get to battle Cyrus. To start off the battle, Cyrus sends out his Sneasel. And obviously Sneasel is part Ice type, so his Flamethrower is super effective, so I take it out in 1 shot. Next up, Cyrus sends out his Golbat, and I take out Golbat in 1 shot with Thunder Punch. Last but not least, Cyrus sends out his Murkrow. I hit it once with Thunder Punch, taking it out, meaning we have beaten Cyrus for the first time. After defeating Cyrus, we receive Surf, and it's time to head to Canalave City. First things first, after arriving in Canalave City, it's time for us to get revenge against Mama. Anyway, to start off the battle, our rival sends out Staraptor, and because of the Intimidate from Staraptor, our Thunder Punch doesn't take it out in 1 shot. Now his Staraptor tries to be a little bit tricky and use Double Team, but unfortunately for it, I still hit it with a second Thunder Punch, taking it out. Next up, our rival sends out Empoleon. Now against Empoleon, I start off by using Thunder Punch, which does 2/3 of its health. And then it follows up with a Bubble Beam, which does 100 damage to me. And then I finish off Empoleon with another Thunder Punch. Next up, our rival sends out his Rapidash. Now against Rapidash, I start off by using Thunder Punch, which luckily paralyzes it, but then it hits me with a Takedown. Now Takedown does a decent amount of damage, leaving me on 24 health. But that doesn't really matter because I take out Rapidash with another Thunder Punch. Next up he sends out his Heracross, but it doesn't really matter because it's part Bug type, so I take it out easily with 1 Flamethrower. Last but not least, our rival sends out Roserade, which is a Grass type, which means it obviously goes down to 1 Flamethrower, meaning we've beaten our rival. And with that, we just pounded the hell out of Mama. Anyway, that means it's finally time for us to versus 6th Gym Leader, Byron. Now to start off the battle, Byron sends out his Magneton. Now Magneton being a Steel type means it goes down in 1 shot to Flamethrower, which means next up he sends out his Steelix. Now I was pretty sure I would not 1-shot Steelix with Flamethrower.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Well, turns out I was wrong. Well, next up is Bastiodon anyway. Now because Bastiodon is a really tanky Pokemon, my first Flamethrower only does just over half damage. Then it heals a little bit with a Citrus Berry, and then it uses Stone Edge, which does just over half damage to me. And then I hit Bastiodon with another Flamethrower, but somehow it survives on 1 HP, and at this point I thought this battle was over. And then somehow the gods bless me and he misses his Stone Edge. Then he follows up by healing Bastiodon with a full restore, but that doesn't matter because I get 2 free attacks, both of them Flamethrowers, taking out Bastiodon and defeating the 6th gym. Shortly after defeating Byron, it's time for us to battle Commander Saturn. He starts off the battle by sending out his Golbat, which goes down to 1 Thunder Punch. Next up he sends out his Toxicroak, which goes down to 1 Flamethrower. Last but not least, he sends out his Bronzor, which also goes down to 1 Flamethrower. And with that, we have defeated Commander Saturn. After defeating Commander Saturn, we have to battle Commander Mars once again. Commander Mars also opens the battle up with a Golbat. Her Golbat also falls to one mighty Thunder Punch. Next up, Commander Mars sends out her Bronzor. Now because I'm an absolute idiot, I accidentally used Thunder Punch instead of Flamethrower, which does about half damage even though Flamethrower probably would have one-shot it.
Freaking idiot!
Anyways, Bronzor uses Iron Defense and I take it out with Flamethrower anyway. Last but not least, Commander Mars sends out her Perugly. To start off the battle against Perugly, I use Flamethrower, which does just over half damage. And then Perugly heals a little bit with a Citrus Berry. And then Perugly decides to use Hypnosis to push me to sleep, and this is where I thought the battle would end. On the first turn that I'm asleep, Perugly uses Slash, which does a lot of damage. But I get pretty lucky here because it also burns it, halving its attack, which means it'll do less damage. This works in my favour because I'm asleep for another 3 turns, meaning that if it didn't burn it, it probably would have taken me out with Slash. Anyway, after those 3 turns, I do wake up and take out Perugly with a Flamethrower. Honestly, that battle was a bit closer than it should have been. It doesn't matter anyway, because in the end we defeated Commander Mars. Our rival tells us we have to battle one more gym before we can battle the next commander. That's right, it's time for us to battle Gym Leader Candace, the Ice-type Gym Leader. Now you can probably guess how this battle is going to go, considering I'm a Fire-type. Now because this battle was super easy, I don't think it really needs any commentary. I'm going to show you the clip and then I'm going to talk over it for a little bit. That's right, it's time for a shameless plug. Now if you guys enjoy these kind of videos and you guys have been enjoying this video, make sure you don't forget to click that subscribe button down below because it really helps me out. I would also appreciate if you guys go and follow me on Instagram. Link should be in the description and up in the banner above the video. And with that we have completed the shameless plug. So in this battle I've taken literally 10 damage, but last up Candace sends out her Frostlass. And like the rest of her Pokemon, Frostlass goes down to 1 Flamethrower. Surprising, I know. I wasn't lying when I said this battle was easy, but with that we have defeated Gym Leader Candace and claimed ourselves the 7th Gym Badge. After defeating Candace we go back to the lake only to find that our rival's already lost because he's a loser. Now because this video is already getting super long, I'm going to skip a bit of the Team Galactic stuff because there's a lot of it coming up, and I don't want the video to be like 30 minutes long, so I'll see you at the next really important fight. After leaving our rival at the lake, we head back to Team Galactic HQ, and then we easily beat Cyrus. We also easily beat Saturn because we take literally no damage. Now if you guys are wondering before you ask in the comments, out of Riley's egg I got a Riolu. I know it's pretty rare, but I got one. It's pretty awesome. After that amazing discovery, it's time for us to head to Sky Pillar. Now once again, because the video is getting super long, I decided to skip the Jupiter and Mars fight just because my rival pretty much carried me and it was pretty easy. Now if you don't like my decision to not show this battle, make sure you leave a comment down below letting me know how much you hate me, how bad my videos are, and how bad of a person I am. Thank you very much. Is it just me or is the Pokemon Platinum cutscene one of the best cutscenes in a Pokemon game? I really love this cutscene, it's so good. Anyway, after that amazing cutscene, it's time for us to head to the Distortion World. And now that we're in the Distortion World, we finally get to battle Cyrus for the final time. To start off the battle, Cyrus sends out his Houndoom. I hit Houndoom with a Thunder Punch, paralyzing it. It then proceeds to hit me with a Dark Pulse. I then take out Houndoom with a second Thunder Punch. Next up he sends out his Gyarados, which does Intimidate, lowering my attack stat. Even with a lowered attack stat, I still managed to one-shot Gyarados with a Thunder Punch. Unfortunately for Honchkrow, my Thunder Punches are still deadly and I take him out in one shot as well. Next up is Weavile, which is his Fake Out. And obviously I end up taking Weavile out with one Flamethrower because it's part Ice type. Last but not least, Cyrus sends out his Crobat. Now I almost take out Crobat with a Thunder Punch, but not quite, and then it uses Cross Poison. Luckily I don't get poisoned by the move, but it does leave me on 14 health. Next up, Cyrus uses a full Restore on his Crobat. This is kind of a bad choice though, because it means I get 2 free attacks, so I use Thunder Punch twice, taking out Crobat and defeating Cyrus. After defeating Cyrus, it's time for a battle with the legendary Pokemon Giratina. This reminds me, the question of the day will be, what is your favourite legendary Pokemon? Mine is probably Giratina or Darkrai. Leave yours down in the comment section down below. Well, to start this battle off against Giratina, I started by using Confuse Ray, which confuses it, and then I use Feint Attack to do about just over half its health. It uses Dragon Claw me, which has a decent chunk of my health. And then I use Feint Attack again, knocking it down to like 1 HP. It uses Shadow Force, knocking it down to like 10 HP, and then I take it out one more Feint Attack. After Giratina is finally defeated, we can head to Sunny Shore City. While in Sunny Shore City, we have to talk to the lazy-ass gym leader who refuses to do his frickin' job, so that he goes back to work. What a lazy-ass bum. Anyway, after getting a pep talk from an 11-year-old kid, he finally decides to go back to work, meaning we can battle him. To start off the battle, he sends out his Jolteon, which goes down to 1 Flamethrower. Next up he sends out Electivire, which also goes down to 1 Flamethrower, which was quite surprising considering Electivire is a pretty strong Pokemon. Next up he sends out his Luxray, which also goes down to 1 Flamethrower. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Next up he sends out Raichu. Can you guess what will happen next? A. Magby will one-shot Raichu with Flamethrower. B. Raichu will outspeed and hit me with Thunderbolt. C. You will all like this video if you're enjoying it. Or D. The answer is both A and C. You have 5 seconds to lock in your answer. The correct answer was D, both A and C. Did you get it right? Let me know in the comments down below. So I one-shot Raichu with Flamethrower, defeating Volkner and claiming ourselves the 8th gym badge. Now that we have defeated the final gym, we want to save some time on the video and skip straight to the Pokemon League. But before we converse the Elite Four, we have to battle our rival for one last time. To start off the battle, he sends out Staraptor and I hit it with Thunder Punch, taking it out in one shot. Next up he sends out Empoleon, which you almost take out in one shot with the Thunder Punch. We were that close.
Missed it by that much.
And then Empoleon hits me with a Brine, doing a significant amount of damage, leaving me on 71 health, and then I take him out with another Thunder Punch. I hit Snorlax with Flamethrower, doing just about half its health, and then it takes me out with Earthquake, meaning I have to try this battle again. Before attempting this battle again, I grind up to level 95, this time I get up to Snorlax with full health because I one-shot Empoleon. Now I use Confuse around Snorlax even though it doesn't work on the first try because the Earthquake still hits, doing about 100 damage. And because I'm super unlucky, a second Earthquake hits as well, bringing me down to like 20 health. And then I take him out with another Flamethrower. That battle would have been a lot easier if I just used Flamethrower on the first turn and didn't worry about using Confuse because it didn't even help me. That's funny, honestly. Next up he sends out Heracross, which easily goes down to one Flamethrower. Next up he sends out Rapidash, which I hit with a Thunder Punch, doing a decent amount of damage, almost taking it out. And then he uses Bounce, and I thought this battle was over, but somehow it misses Bounce. I hit it with another Thunder Punch, taking out Rapidash. Last but not least, sends out Roserade, which obviously goes down to one Flamethrower, meaning we've finally beaten our rival for the last time. Now that we have defeated our rival, it's time to see the moveset we'll be using against the Elite Four. All these moves and moves that he learns by level up, so we'll be using Sunny Day, Thunder Punch, Feint Attack, and Flamethrower for the Elite Four. Now I know what moveset I'm going to be using. Do I think I'll be able to beat the Elite Four? Probably. But I don't think I'll be able to beat the champion Cynthia, but let's find out. First up to the plate is a Bug-type Elite Four member, Aaron. To start off the battle, Aaron sends out his Mega, which goes down to one Flamethrower. Next up, Aaron sends out his Vespiquen. Vespiquen also, unsurprisingly, goes down to only one Flamethrower. Next up, Aaron sends out his Heracross. Also, Heracross, you guessed it, goes down to only one Flamethrower. Next up, Aaron sends out his Scizor. Now, Scizor is 4 times weak to fire, so obviously Flamethrower one-shots it. Last but not least, Aaron sends out his Drapion. Drapion is technically not a bug type, it's a dark poison type, but Flamethrower still takes it out in one shot, meaning we've beaten the first Elite Four member. Next up we have to battle Agatha, and this is where we hit our first roadblock in the Elite Four. Now the reason this is a hard battle is because I'm a fire type, and she has all ground type Pokemon, meaning that I have nothing that's super effective against any of her Pokemon. The run you're watching now is the best run I had out of like 30 attempts. During this run I get up to Golem, but I need to have enough HP to survive its Earthquake or enough attack power to take it out with Flamethrower. The answer to beating Golem is a little move called Sunny Day. Let's see if it'll help. Now before attempting this battle again, I decided to grind up to level 100. With the power of level 100 and Sunny Day, we managed to get up to Golem again, but surprisingly we have less health than we did before, which is weird. But with the power of Sunny Day, Flamethrower is able to one-shot Golem. Next up, Bertha sends out Rhyperior, but unfortunately Flamethrower is just not enough to take it out, leaves it on like 1 health. I feel like if I get a high damage roll, I will be able to take it out, but unfortunately not this time, and it takes me out with Earthquake. After resetting his fight a few more times, I get back up to Rhyperior with a decent amount of health, a lot more than last time, and this time Flamethrower actually takes it out with a high damage roll. Last but certainly not least, Bertha sends out her Gliscor. And Gliscor obviously goes down to one Flamethrower, meaning we have finally beaten Elite Four member, Bertha. Next up is Elite Four member, Flint. To start off the battle, Flint sends out his Houndoom. To start off the battle, I use Sunny Day, and then his Houndoom also uses Sunny Day, which is funny. Unfortunately for him though, I outspeed and am able to use Flamethrower first, taking out Houndoom in one shot. It's the same story with Infernape, but also goes down to one Flamethrower. Next up is Rapidash, and guess what? It also goes down to one Flamethrower. Surprise! Next up is Flareon. Now I don't use Flamethrower on Flareon because Flareon has a move that absorbs fire type moves, so I use Thunder Punch instead, which still has like 2/3 of its health. And then next turn Flareon uses Quick Attack, which is actually a surprising amount of damage, but then I take it out with another Thunder Punch. And last but not least, finally Magby gets to fight its older brother, Magmortar. Now to start off the battle against Magmortar, I use Flamethrower, which actually does a surprising amount of damage, almost 2/3 of its health. And then Magmortar uses Flamethrower on Magby, but it does almost no damage. And then Magby easily takes Magmortar out with another Flamethrower, meaning we have finally beaten the third Elite Four member. And now it's time for the final Elite Four member, Lucian. To start off the battle, I take out Mr. Mime with a Feint Attack. It takes about 6 Flamethrowers to take out Gallade, and then it hits me with a Stone Edge, bringing me down to like 76 health, and it heals with a full restore, but eventually I do take it out with Flamethrower. Next up is Bronzong, and because obviously Bronzong is Steel type, Flamethrower is super effective, meaning it obviously takes it down in one shot. Next up is Espeon, which goes down to one Feint Attack. Last but certainly not least is Alakazam, which also goes down to one Feint Attack, meaning we have beaten the 4th Elite Four member and defeated the entire Elite Four. After beating the Elite Four, it's finally time for us to battle the champion, Cynthia. And I'm sorry to say this is where the run ends. This is not possible to do with Magby alone. Now I think I mentioned this in my Shinichi video, but if I'm unable to beat an opponent after 100 tries, it's sort of a mercy rule. I just give up on the challenge, especially at level 100, because there's nothing I can really do. The only reason I can't beat Cynthia is because of her Garchomp. No matter what I do, I can't do enough damage, and even at full health with the Earthquake will one-shot me. Even with the sunny day and getting a crit, I just don't do enough damage to take out Garchomp in one shot, and if I can't one-shot it, I can't beat it. So sadly, this is the end of the challenge, but not the end of the run. The run is not over because I was determined to get Magby into the Hall of Fame, even if it meant using items. Now after setting up 6 X specials, let's see how well I do. Now you probably would have guessed it, but I pretty much one-shot every single one of Cynthia's Pokemon all the way through, and end up beating Cynthia pretty easily. Now I know using items to beat Cynthia is against the rules, but I've already said this challenge is impossible, so this is just to put Magby in the Hall of Fame because I think it deserves it after all the work it's put in. Now to be honest, I didn't think I'd even get past Bertha, but to get up to Cynthia is pretty impressive on Magby's part, to be honest. And with that, we beat Cynthia and it's time to enter the Hall of Fame. And we finally get to enter Magby into the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, we're unable to do it without items, which kind of is depressing for me, to be honest, because I really wanted to do this challenge legit. But even though we're unable to do it without items, it was still a fun challenge to record, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I know I did. If you guys did end up enjoying the video, please don't forget to leave a like on it, because let me know you guys enjoyed the content. If you didn't enjoy the video, please leave a dislike on it and let me know why you didn't enjoy the video, because I'm always trying to improve my content. Now if you guys did want to subscribe to the channel, you can click on my ugly mug in the bottom right corner and then click on the subscribe button. If you guys want to watch more of these videos, there'll be a playlist in the bottom left corner with all of my challenge videos in it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.